name, that's Sam Law. Hear myself when I hear y'all talk. See my kicks when I see y'all walk. Flex on me, y'all ain't strong. Say my name, that's Sam Law. Still on top, yeah, it's been that long. They won't know till I say I'm gone. They won't know, they won't know. Say my name, that's Sam Law. Hear myself when I hear y'all talk. See my kicks when I see y'all walk. Flex on me, y'all ain't strong. Say my name, that's Sam Law. Still on top, yeah, it's been that long. They won't know till I say I'm gone. They won't know, they won't know. Say my name.
Hey everyone, welcome to the That Sam Law Show, and I'm your host, Sam Law. Today's guest is Jurianne Franqui. She is a wills and estate planning lawyer, and what I love most about this guest is not only is she a lawyer, she's a mom, a wife, entrepreneur, and I'm excited to have her tell you about herself. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, you summed it up great. But yes, I'm an attorney. I'm a mom. I'm a wife. I recently, in the last few years, transitioned from working as a prosecutor into having my own law firm as a trust and estate attorney. And that really stemmed from being a mom, understanding that the way that the legal industry works, it's very difficult. You know, as a mom, you know, your kids go to school, say from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Mm-hmm. Standard business hours are 9 to 5. Mm-hmm. So it's not very conducive to somebody who wants to rise in the legal career, in your legal field, and also be the mom that I wanted to be, which is to be present, to be able to be there for homework, games, sports, etc. So I realized I had to pivot a little bit. I had to tweak, my career goals and aspirations a little bit. But then I stumbled upon, in a way, Trust and Estates. It was a class that I took in law school. And it was a class that I found to be so interesting because it really has a lot to do with family dynamics. People hear Trust and Estates and they think, okay, that's boring. All right, a document here, a document there. But what's really beneath that is it's a lot of family dynamics. Why are people leaving what they've worked their whole life to this particular person? And so I'm like, that is very interesting. Have one client meeting and you're hearing all about the dynamics in their family, or you're hearing about how hard they've worked and how much they love their family and how much they want to provide for them and want to make sure that they're set up and comfortable and that things go seamless for them. With that, it allows a lot of flexibility. And so I said, you know what? As a mom, I need flexibility. Right. I want to continue practicing law. I love it. And so that was the direction that I decided to go towards a few years ago.
Well, that makes a lot of sense because the way, American culture is set up, it's not like in Europe. Europe, you get a break in the middle of the day for 2 hours. You can, lounge outside at a coffee shop and have a croissant. Yeah. You can't really do that here. And just being present for your family is kind of like new in this day and age. Yes. That wasn't a thing. Like a lot of our parents are so surprised that we're looking for like work-life balance. They're like, what is work-life balance?
What is that? Right. And for me, it was something that was important. When I was a prosecutor, I spent most of my days in the court. And what I realized was I was giving my best to everybody at work. So whether that be the judge, the court clerk, the court officer, my supervisors, my peers, and then I would come home and I'm like a shell of myself because I'm so tired that all I want to do is just like eat some dinner, zone out, and that's it. And I'm like, this isn't going to work. You know, we need that. I need that sort of balance where there's enjoyable work and I'm satisfied with going to work, but also I'm able to show up and be present and, enjoy my family.
Right. Enjoying your family is critical. One of the things I liked about as you were speaking is you kind of made estate planning and wills sound a little exciting. I was expecting like a nice soap opera drama that you must have dealt with, like, oh, we hate Uncle Esteban, but we love Aunt Joyce, so we're giving her all our money.
Sometimes is it like that? Sometimes it's like that. I've had clients, where they don't feel the same way about every single child. Yeah, it could be their own children and they may have different relationships, or it could be different life choices that their children have made that have made them feel, I haven't worked this hard for everything to just be squandered in a matter of, say the person passes away in January and by April, everything is squandered. And they're like, I haven't worked my job, saved my retirement, my this, my that, just for my child to squander it all in a matter of a few months. And so you have those type of situations all the time. Some people are a little bit more forthcoming, meaning they come into the consultation and they are very much so, this is what's going on with my family, this is what I want. And then you have some who I have to kind of get it out of them a little bit because they feel guilty, and that's a completely normal human response and emotion to knowing that you have one child who is responsible and who is, you know, going to take care of things, and maybe you have another who hasn't made the best choices. And now as the parent, they're wrestling with the fact that I'm equally related to these two individuals, but I may not be able to treat them the same way when I'm leaving behind my legacy. And that's hard for them.
Right.
And so part of what I do, in addition to the legal aspect, there's a huge emotional aspect of guiding clients to what ultimately they are comfortable with. Because whether they decide they're going to leave it equally or leave in different types of percentages to whichever child, they've got to be comfortable with it, and it has to be what they want, ultimately.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I was thinking that as you were speaking, like, wow, you kind of have to play therapist a little bit, and a little bit of detective work. You're digging things out of people, and it can't be. It has to be a little bit scary for people to really come and sit down and be like, hey, let's plan my death. You know, we don't want to talk about death in most cultures. I know in a lot of like African American, Caribbean cultures, that's not a thing like we talk about. Right.
It becomes this sort of taboo. If I talk about it, it's going to happen sooner. And I have to tell people, it doesn't matter. There's actually no correlation. If you talk about your death or if you don't talk about your death, we all still die. But the best thing is to plan, so that way those that you leave behind, they're already going to be grieving.
Right.
They don't also need the confusion of things not being planned properly.
That's true.
And so a catchphrase that I came up with recently was proper planning prevents probate problems.
Proper planning prevents probate problems.
Yes.
Let's say that one more time. Proper planning prevents probate problems. Don't forget that.
And because a lot of times people get to that stage and they don't even know what their parents have. They're waiting for things to come in the mail. They're going through, they're literally having to, they lose a parent, bury a parent, and now they're having to go through all of their things, not just to pack things away maybe, but to figure out what did my mom or dad have? What bank accounts? People don't know.
That's the truth. I know when I unfortunately lost my dad in 2016.
I'm sorry.
He didn't do a lot of things that would have been necessary. Things that you probably would have sat down and talked to him about weren't done. So just a little bit before he passed, my mom did ask him like some critical questions, but unfortunately he was starting to lose like his reality a little bit, to be honest with you, because he was not getting enough oxygen to his brain. So she still had to like kind of decipher what was what, you know, what's a real password and what's he like kind of not really understanding. And we were able to get to it a little bit, and she was able to get through it. But I think one of the things that was really tough, you know, and I'm just going to be honest here, was he didn't set up, he ended his life insurance policy for some reason. And so, like, preparing for the funeral, now it was like, oh my God, he was in military, so his burial was covered, but his funeral wasn't. So now it was like getting that money together, you know, dealing with grief, making sure everything was done. The PBA for the state and his friends and different people pitched in, and we were able to have way more than enough to have a beautiful service and burial and repast. But I think, you know, this is important because I wouldn't want someone to go through what my family went through. I would want them to be prepared. You know, my mom has learned now these are things to prepare for since that time. So she's been way more proactive about preparing for ends of life.
Absolutely. And something you just touched on, which is when a person starts to lose touch with reality. Disclaimer before I go into this, This is not legal advice. If you need legal advice, please call an attorney. That is not what I'm giving here. However, with that being said, with wills and any of these sort of directives and estate planning documents, one of the requirements is capacity. And sometimes people wait too long because they think of estate planning, they think of death, and they think that's far off. I'm going to wait until I'm older to do it. And what ends up happening is they wait until they're older and they might have dementia now. They might have Alzheimer's now. They might have, a lot of forgetfulness. They're not sure what their reality is. And if they don't have the requisite capacity, they cannot execute those documents. And then they're still left in a pickle because it's not just about their will. It could also be executing a power of attorney document. Healthcare proxy and all of those sort of directives for someone else to be able to act on their behalf in the event that they don't have the capacity, but they executed the document when they did, and then that person can step into their shoes and make sure that things are handled for them. But I've seen it, and I've actually had to tell people, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do because your loved one doesn't have the requisite capacity to be able to execute those documents. I've had children call me, I need to be, and they're well-meaning, but like I need to get power of attorney over my mom. Okay, can I speak with your mom? No, she has Alzheimer's. Yeah, you can't demand it. In the sense of the capacity not being there, like advanced stages of it, not even where there's points where they're aware of who they are and who their children are. They're just completely at the stage where they don't know anything. And so with a power of attorney, the person who the power of attorney would be for, they're called the principal, and they have to be able to execute that document. And if they don't know who they are or who their loved ones are, they can't. And so I tell people, when people ask me, well, what's a good age, to start
now?
And I'm like, now.
Right.
Don't wait until you're 80 years old.
Right.
And I mean, if you're still fine and you're healthy and you decide, okay, I am going to do it now, by all means, do it. But don't say be in your 40s or your 50s and say, I've got time. You may not have time.
Hi, my name is Melanie Stephen, and I'm the Area Manager of Business Development for Allegiant Home Care. We are a licensed home care agency in New York, Florida, and Georgia. We service all of Long Island and all of the boroughs with certified home health aides. All of our nurses are full-time employees and become your manager of clinical practice. The activities of daily living that we can help you with are bathing, grooming, dressing, toileting, meal preparation, light housekeeping, personal laundry, hydration and medication reminders, as well as prompting and other tasks that you may need done in your home. Our main goal is to keep you safe while maintaining your dignity in any setting, whether it be an assisted living, private residence, skilled nursing facility, or anywhere you call home. For more information, please reach out to 516-385-2836.
Do you feel like that's a big misconception that people have when it comes to estate planning?
Yes, a big misconception that people have is that they have time, that their family members will figure it out, and they'll do what's right or they'll do what's fair. And another misconception is that people have to be very, very wealthy in order to have an estate plan. People will often diminish what they have. Say they have a house. They will often say things like, I just have a house. If you live in Long Island and you have a house and you own it, you say you've paid it off, that is upwards of $500,000 right there to over. I mean, depending on what town we're talking about, right? North Shore.
Yeah.
Middle of it depends on what town you're in, but Long Island is
it's expensive.
The houses are expensive.
Yeah.
They are worth a lot. Now, imagine you own that house outright, and that's the only asset the person has. They have nothing in the bank or very minimal savings or anything in their checking account, but they own their home. Say they have 2 children. Say their house is worth $1 million.
Yeah.
Their children now stand to inherit $500,000 each. That is real money, and that is also money that people are willing to fight over.
That's true.
And, that is not something to just sneeze at and say, oh, I just have a house.
Right.
Houses are worth a lot. I mean, that's part of the reason why people own their homes, or the goal is home ownership, I should say. If they don't, that's why we strive to it, because it's an asset that oftentimes appreciates. I can't,
That's true.
We did have the 2008
Since
situation. But
2020, housing has skyrocketed. I mean, houses in neighborhoods most people would not want to consider $500,000 right now.
Right, and more.
Right.
And people will say, this is how much to live in, insert undesirable town, I won't name any, but people will say, oh, why would I want to pay this amount to live in this town? But that's what it costs.
Right.
And forget it, go into the boroughs.
Yeah. Ooh.
I looked at those houses
brownstone.
recently just out of curiosity, and I was looking at, certain town, Kew Gardens, Forest Hills, and wherever, and I was surprised. I said, oh.
Yeah, no, it's like that. So I have a question. If wills could talk, like, what would they say?
Ooh, that's a good one. If wills could talk, execute me properly.
What do you mean by that?
So with wills, because people say, well, do I need an attorney, right? Because there's a lot of DIY wills online, or, things that you could do. And I mean, yeah, technically you could do it.
Well, thank you for that. I'm going to take a moment right now to just take a little break. And before we take a break, I just want to give a shout out to our sponsor, the Bell Law Group. If you're dealing with issues with unemployment, you're dealing with issues at your job that have to do with your age, sexual discrimination, anything like that, contact the Bell Law Group. They also do personal injury as well. So please contact the Bell Law Group.
John Bell from the Bell Law Group here, happy to be a sponsor of Sam Law. I know Samantha Lawson for many years now. We do employment and personal injury. We have 20 attorneys. Main office here is in Syosset, Long Island. We also have offices in Staten Island and Albany. So please contact us if you have a good personal injury case, a good employment case. We're happy to hear about it. We don't take a ton of cases. We're very selective. So if you do feel like you have a good case, we're the perfect attorneys for you.
Welcome back to the That Sam Law Show. I'm your host, Sam Law. And again, we have our guest, Jurianne Franqui. And she's going to talk a little bit more about her role as an estate and will planning lawyer. So I have a good question for you. Have you done your own estate planning, or do lawyers procrastinate?
Lawyers do procrastinate, but I have done mine. And the funny thing is, what really motivated me to do mine a few years ago was I was going on a cruise with my husband. And one of the things that you also do in a will is you name the guardian for your child or children. And so that was, I don't know why it popped into my head. Oh my goodness, we're gonna go someplace. She was coming with us, but I still had this thought of, if something happened to us and she's fine, we need to make sure that somebody is put in place to take care of her. So it wasn't even my assets I was so concerned about. It was who will take care of my daughter, in the event that anything happens to us.
Right.
So that's what motivated me. This is probably about 5 or 6 years ago. To do my own estate plan, was the fact that we were going on a trip.
All right, I got 2 questions. Where'd you go?
We went on a cruise. We went, oh my goodness, Bahamas.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we went to 2 spots in the Bahamas. One, I'm not remembering because it's like a port that Carnival owns.
Okay.
One of their ports. And then we went to Nassau, Bahamas.
Okay. All right, nice.
And then, why can't I remember the other spot?
Carnival has their own little island.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. They have 2, I think.
Right, and so that was really nice because the water was very calm.
Very
we
blue.
paddleboarded, and it was
Yes.
nice. Then we went to Nassau, Bahamas. It was so hot.
Yeah. We did that this year. Well, not this year. We did it in 2024. We did the dolphin thing, and
nice.
we hung out with a dolphin, and he kissed everybody. The baby did it. It was really nice.
Oh my gosh, yes.
That was a nice experience.
Yeah, so it was lovely. I enjoy cruises. But yeah, and it was one that left out of New York.
Oh, we did that. We did Royal Caribbean.
Yeah, so it
that's
left out of
awesome.
New York. It was really nice because we didn't have to fly. As you know, with cruises, when you get there, you have to wait on the long line and check in, and it's a whole ordeal. But at least we missed the whole flight, TSA, and that ordeal, and just had one headache to deal with. And then when you come back, once you dock and you check out, that's it. You don't have to like rush to the airport and everything. So it was really nice.
That is nice. All right, so my second question, it more so had to do with, you kind of made this come to my mind when you said you had to pick a guardian for your child in case something happened to you and your husband. So when we do, what's the word? Like the baptism, or we do a christening rather, and we appoint a godparent, does that make them? No, that's just like an honor. It's not like real.
I love that question because so many people do think, because they are choosing the person who they would want to take care of the child in the event that something happened to them. But that is not legally binding. It has religious significance, of course. That person is in their life and does play a role in their life as far as spiritual guidance, emotional support, and the like if you have a godparent. But that person does not have any stronger bearing in the eyes of the court, than another person. They would have to petition the court to be named as the guardian. And it always depends, like, what's in the child's best interest. But yeah, that person is not automatically the one. And it's also not automatic of like a next of kin sort of thing. You have to go to the court, you have to petition, the court has to evaluate. It's a whole process.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, learn something new every day on the That Sam Law Show. So we're gonna take a little turn, and we're gonna talk about your family life. So I want to start with this. Your lawyer superpower. Like what helps you the most at home? What of your legal skills helps you the most at home?
So my family may not agree with this, but what I think helps me the most at home is listening and being fair and objective before jumping to a conclusion of what actually happened and asking lots of questions. They may not enjoy my questions, but I like to ask questions to get to the bottom of what actually happened. They may think they're being interrogated. I say get to the bottom of things. They say interrogated, tomato, tomato.
No, that's fair. That's fair. What would they say your superpower is?
I don't know that they would say I have a superpower. Being talkative. I talk a lot.
Okay.
So
were you most talkative in high school?
Oh, I was most talkative from the moment I was born.
Oh, nice.
From pre-K to probably the 8th grade, every report card said, Jurianne talks too much. My mother got constant phone calls, and every report, like I'm talking not just like at the end of the year, every single like trimester, whatever we did back then, said I talk too much. And she was kind of just like, I mean,
it is what it is. Look,
that's what she does.
I
don't know what to tell you.
When I was in high school, senior year superlative, I was nominated for most talkative in class.
Yeah,
I didn't win it. Another girl beat me out.
I couldn't help it.
It is what it is. Look,
I got better in high school because, in high school the periods are shorter, so I had to pay attention more. And so I didn't miss things, but I was like, I have to talk. I don't know.
Right. No, there's nothing. There's nothing wrong with that. Talking is probably my superpower.
So now it makes for a good career that I talk a lot.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what's your go-to escape from lawyer life?
Whatever is the best Netflix show at the time, or Prime, or Hulu, or Peacock. I have all the streaming. Right now I'm watching Reacher.
What's that about?
Jack Reacher.
With the guy from The Office?
Alan.
No,
that's Jack Ryan.
Okay, I was close.
I watch all of them. So Jack Ryan, that's the guy from The Office. Reacher, Jack Reacher. I guess Jack is just the name. It's kind of a similar type of like former Army, saves the day, does good things, has strong moral compass, beats people up.
Oh, that's exciting.
Like, I mean, if you really reduced all the shows that I watch, it's either that or like a cop or detective show.
Oh, so you like stay in it. You're in legal all the time.
Oh, I'm just, that's my lane. Those are the books that I read.
What are you reading?
Right now I'm reading Blowback.
What's that about?
It's about a Secret Service agent.
She's like, my prosecuting days are over, but I still want to.
It's still in here, and he's like trying to thwart like a terrorist attack.
Oh.
So, yeah. I very much so have a lane.
All right, so I gotta add. I don't know if I'll read the book, but I'm gonna check out Jack Ryan, and I'm gonna check out Reacher.
Reacher, yeah.
Jack Ryan is Reacher, right?
No, they're two different.
Jack Ryan's a different show.
Yeah.
Reacher has Jack.
That has Alan Richer
Okay.
as like the star.
All right, I'm gonna check out both.
And who's oh my goodness, who's Mission Impossible?
Tom Cruise.
Right, the movies for Reacher. Like Tom Cruise used to be Reacher from like the movies.
Oh,
So it's like an old
okay.
character. Like this character's been around for a while
Right.
because that was years ago that
Okay.
he did 2 movies. But then they turned it
Nice.
into a series on Amazon Prime.
All right, I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah.
So my last
Season
question
3
for
just
you-
came out.
Season 3? Oh, I got to do this in the summer.
Yeah,
I got to do it when it's slow down a bit.
right.
All right, so my last question for you is, what's one lesson you hope to pass down?
Work hard. Don't be afraid to pivot.
That's the one right there.
Because sometimes you start out in life and you start your career and you think your career is going to look one way. You think you have a certain trajectory for your career. You've mapped it all out, and then you start actually living that career. You start doing and practicing or working in that field, and you realize this isn't quite what I thought it was going to be. And you may realize that in order to be the best here, there's other aspects of my life that would suffer. So for me, I knew I didn't want my family life to suffer for this career. I was like, I'm not going to sacrifice my career, my family for this career. There's a lot of attorneys who do, you know, and we all make our decisions, and everybody has their own motives and ambitions and things that drive them.
Right.
So for me, this career is super important to me. I've worked, hard to get where I am, but I also really love my family, and I'm like, they won't be the sacrificial lamb for this career. So I've got to figure out a way that these things can both work together. And so I had to pivot. And I wouldn't be afraid to pivot again.
No, that was deep. That was powerful. Well, Jurianne, I want to thank you so much for sitting down and talking with us on the That Sam Law Show. Where can my audience find you if they want to get in touch, they want to have a consultation, they just want to check out your newest outfit on Instagram? Where can they find you?
So on Instagram, I am Jurianne Franqui Law. And my website is juriannefranquilaw.com. Through my website, you can find my phone number and my email address. And I do get back to people within 1 day.
Oh, wow. She's quick, y'all.
Yes.
Well, thank you again for coming, and thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the That Sam Law Show.
Thank you.